Now, continuing our discussion, we'll look at the equipments used for audits, electrical equipments. So, the equipments which are basically studied are like HVAC system, that is AC and refrigeration systems. Then you have boilers, furnaces, steam systems, installations, industrial fans, DJ sets, air compressors, refrigeration systems, waste heat recovery systems, heat exchangers, and illumination systems. So regarding electrical instruments, what we use are like clamp meters, power factor meters, power quality analyzers, thermal imaging cameras, lux meter to measure light intensity, hygrometer. Then you have electrical equipment studied are like transformers, lighting systems, HVAC, refrigeration systems, motors, pumps, automatic power factor controllers. Let us look at some instruments which are used pictographically to measure parameters like voltage, current, power factor, kVA, apparent power, reactive power, kilowatt hour, frequency, harmonics. So you have got a clamp on meters. You also got smart energy meters. We have data loggers like. Then you have got combustion gas analyzers for flue gas analyzer, basically to find out the combustion efficiency. Then fuel efficiency monitoring devices are available. Manometer is there and pitot tubes. Thermometers, which are contact and non-contact thermometers. Similarly, flow meters, ultrasonic flow meters, which are non-contact flow meters, and psychrometer. This is to find out the psychometric properties like dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperatures. Tachometers, again contact and non-contact. It is called stroboscope. Thermography, you have got which gives a temperature profile. Nowadays, extensively used in airports and big cities to scan the temperature of people. Lux meter to measure light intensity. And of late in the market, you have come with new gadgets have come, which are high technology gadgets, which combine 2 to 3 features they can measure, and they are basically the non-contact with Bluetooth, and they can send the data over cloud. You have devices for HVAC measurement, refrigeration measurements, and these are the various equipment manufacturers, commercial manufacturers like Vika, Masibus, Orion, Testo, Chavison, Vasu Chemicals, Proxicon Chemical Controls, Utech Instruments, Adapt Fluid, and so many manufacturers of various devices. So now we will see the audit report. Actually, what are the contents? So you can start with the acknowledgement, team for audit, then executive summary. Executive summary means the management doesn't have time to go through your report for half a day or one day. So within 10 minutes they will say, you tell me what all suggest. So the executive summary should it is like main headlines of a newspaper. So the important things you write and what are the financial implications like. Then introduction part will be there, which will tell about the plant, layout, cost of production, major energy use areas. Second is production process. You have to define how it is produced basically. Then flow diagrams, raw materials. Third is energy and utility system. So utilities means like water is a utility, electricity is a utility, steam is a electricity, compressed air is a utility, chilled water, cooling water. These are all utilities. Then you will have detailed flow diagrams, energy and material balance, water balance. Fifth, you will have the energy efficiency in utility systems. Then you find the efficiencies basically, like a specific energy consumption, boiler efficiency, furnace efficiency, cooling water performance, DG set efficiency, refrigeration system, compressed air system, electrical motor efficiency, lighting systems, Then after finding the efficiency, you will come out with the energy ENCON, energy conservation options, a list of options, and you will classify these options in three categories, like no cost or low cost, second medium cost, and high cost, based on the amount of investment the management is supposed to make, in case they want to implement this ENCONs. Then you should have an implementation plan also, and what are the list of equipment you have used and what they can buy. So as I was telling, the energy efficiency measures, that like ENCON, you have got three columns here. One is equipment. So when you want to have equipment, then you will have some installation, civil cost, instrumentation cost, auxiliary. Then the annual operating cost, the cost of capital, maintenance cost, manpower cost to maintain that equipment, energy and depreciation cost, because every year the value depreciates. Then what are the savings in terms of thermal energy, electrical energy, or raw material or waste disposal. So based on that, you will find out what are the net savings, that is annual savings minus annual operating cost. And you will find out the payback period, that is the total investment made divided by the net savings per year. So your payback period should be the least, say 1 year, 2 years or something like that. Then people will invest. If the payback period is more than 5 years and all, then the management is not keen on investing. Means the money is not getting returned back to the organization even after 5 years. It is as simple as that. Then the recommendations what you make, you should have a table like this, like the energy saving recommendations. So what is the annual saving in terms of fuel or electricity? So in terms of this is quantity, then in terms of cost, what is the annual saving in terms of money? Okay, then what is the capital investment and simple payback period. So basically for a layman or the management, they are not interested in complicated calculation. They are only interested कि अरे भैया आपने 1 लाख रुपए दिया डाला तो कितने साल में मिल जाएगा मुझे वापस. So 2 साल 3 साल में मिल जाएगा, then he will invest. You say that मैंने 1 लाख रुपए डाला 10 साल के बाद मिलेगा, then he is not keen on to that. Then you have to prioritize the energy saving measures. Like I told earlier that there are 3 classes. One is no cost or low cost, and second is medium, third is high cost. So accordingly you classify these for the management to take a call on this. Then one example I wanted to give, some few takeaways, like 5 takeaways I want to give to all engineers here. Like boiler efficiency method, I have just shown one diagram where we find the efficiency, and this 1 to 8 are the losses. Like you can see the left side, fuel input is there, air input is there. You supply water, that is green color, and you get out steam. You get a steam. This is the purpose. But what happens, whatever fuel you supply, that it comes in the form of flue gas as well as ash, bottom ash. So in the flue gas, you see that is fly ash, then dry flue gas loss. Then you have got moisture in fuel, moisture in air, carbon monoxide loss, that is unburnt fuel, and surface losses. So the efficiency is 100 minus all these losses put together. First takeaway is, like, what is the oxygen in the flue gas? They measure the oxygen. Because please understand, whatever fuel we are burning, it costs money. Every kg of coal or every liter of diesel costs money. So this whatever air oxygen we are supplying, extra oxygen, in combustion, what we study, like in thermodynamics, there is something called stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So chemically correct air fuel ratio, and we supply some 5 to 10% extra air to ensure that the entire fuel is burnt completely and there is no CO in the flue gases or exhaust gas. But in practice, because people don't have knowledge, they tend to give more air. Please understand, this extra air what we are supplying, though air is free, but that extra air carries the heat, and we are not interested in sending the heat through flue gases because we have paid for the fuel. So we always have a close monitoring of the oxygen level in the flue gases as well as carbon monoxide. So carbon monoxide, because it tells you about the combustion levels. If carbon monoxide is present, means the combustion efficiency is low. And second thing, if more oxygen is present in the flue gases, means we are supplying unnecessarily excess air, and that excess air is carrying with the heat. So these are not desirable from boiler or furnace point of view. Please note this. Now coming to the refrigeration plants, like refrigerant, as you know, 1 ton of refrigeration, like that is 3024 kilocalories per hour. That is nothing but the rate of heat transfer, which converts 1 ton of water at 0 degrees centigrade into 1 ton of ice at 0 degrees centigrade in 24 hours. So regarding HVAC audit, so you should know what are the energy system needs, then where energy is used, what are the components of the HVAC system, how much it consumes. Like again, benchmarking is very important everywhere. Where the energy is heaviest and where is the lightest. Okay, like compressor will be the highest in chiller, and fans will be the lowest. Then what areas and equipment cause the most energy loss. So if you find out the performance of compressor, fans, pumps, and importantly, what are the ages, types and conditions of system components. See, if you have put a window AC, say 20 years old, nowadays is almost obsolete. So you can find out the efficiency will be low because they are aged. There is some wear and tear, and the system efficiency has gone down. So those kind of things like age, condition and the technology used, that matters. So in HVAC audit, you have to minimize the energy loss, like insulation should be good. That is one thing we check for leakages, and we check for the condition of the insulation, because people put the insulation and forget. That should not happen. Even I have seen in cold storages, the inlet, they have got like air curtain or plastic screens. They are not properly maintained. So there is loss of air, cold air basically. Then you have to maximize the system efficiency. Then you need to find the data, like after the audit, okay, you have to convince the top management as why you need to invest in the retrofit. Retrofit means existing thing they remove and put a new thing. For example, I gave example of lamps, incandescent bulbs. So incandescent bulbs are very cheap, like 15 rupees, 20 rupees bulb. But now if you say the LED bulb you put, which costs 100 rupees, then you'll ask why you should put the LED bulb. So this is called as retrofit. Simple example. So you have retrofits in all technologies. Because of the new technologies, the old become obsolete. So you need to remove the obsolete ones if their efficiencies are low. Then what is the preventive maintenance cost? Once you put a new thing, then what is the maintenance cost and the replacement cost? So let us look at the vapor power refrigeration system. I think you are very aware of this. There are 4 parts, only simple 4 parts. You can see the right side diagram. One is the evaporator, bottom. Then the red line, it goes to the compressor. Then from compressor it goes to the condenser, and then last throttle valve. The top half portion is a high pressure zone, and the bottom half portion is a low pressure zone. And this both condenser and evaporator are like heat exchangers where only phase change takes place. They deal only with the latent heat, no increase in temperatures. The increase in temperature and all happens only in the compressor, and decrease happens in the expansion valve. So you can see the pressure enthalpy diagram to the left, where all the 4 components are shown physically also. Like 1 to 2 is the evaporator, then 2 to 3 is the compressor work, 3 to 4 is the condenser work. The condenser work involves evaporator work plus compressor work. And last 4 to 1 in the expansion valve, you can see the pressure is reduced, and because the pressure is reduced, temperature also gets reduced. So just to have a glance, we will just see how in a multi-story building, suppose this is a 3-story building, ground plus 3, how the air conditioning system works. This will just give you an idea, fair idea, the centralized air conditioning in multi-story buildings, the high-rise buildings, what we see, how they function. So basically the chillers are at the bottom. You can see the center you have got a chiller, yellow colored this is a chiller. So this is nothing but your evaporator, compressor and condenser. This put together they call it as a chiller. And so here what is done, we only cool the, it is called chiller because we cool the water to around 4 degrees, 6 degrees and supply. So we are supplying the cold water to all the floors. You can see the pumps, 2 pumps are there, one to the right and another to the left. So you can see the cold right to the right pump is supplying cold water to the all the 3 floors. Okay, and then you have got this white color AHU. AHU means air handling units. So these are also again heat transfer units which take which cool the air because of this chilled water. Chilled water I told you 4 to 6 degrees. So they will cool the air and supply it to the different floors. So there again they are heat exchangers. And then to the left you have got the pump which supplies the warm water from the condenser to the cooling tower, and cooling towers are basically kept on the top of the building, and this is how the central air conditioning system works. So main important is, one is the chiller, that is the main energy consuming device. Then you have pumps, you have air handling units and the cooling tower. So but in normal AC which you see in our house on ATM, bank ATMs and all, there you don't have the cooling tower. You have got like indoor unit or outdoor unit. Indoor unit is that evaporator and outdoor unit is the compressor, condenser. Okay, if you have a fair idea of this, then you can understand. One thing I wanted to show is the part load efficiency basically. There are different types of compressors, like screw compressor are there, but scroll compressors are there, okay, and centrifugal compressors are there. Reciprocating compressor are also there. But nowadays more popular one is the screw and scroll compressors. As an engineer, I think you should understand this. So the x-axis is the percentage loading, say 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100% of loading. And the right side is energy efficiency ratio. What is the performance like? What you call COP or energy efficiency ratio. So per kilowatt, how much kilowatt of refrigeration it is giving. You can see that 100 means full load efficiency, all of them is same. But part load efficiency, you can see the oil-free centrifugal gives the highest ER. Okay, and this standard screw gives the lowest. So basically why I am showing this is, as an engineer you should know the equipment is not running at 100% rated load at most of the time. So it may be running at 80% load, 60% load. So this part load efficiency becomes very important. So that determines the type of compressor you are going to select for your refrigeration system. As you know, energy efficiency ratio, that is a BTU per hour divided by power input in watts. Okay, and this, as I was showing in the earlier slide, like these are the loops. What we study is evaporator, condenser. These are what we have studied. But here in the central AC, we have got one more air handling unit, and you have got that water which is chilled in the evaporator and goes to the air handling unit, and there the air is cooled and supplied inside. The left portion is the supply inside the conditioned space, and the right side you have got from the condenser that pump will pump water to the cooling tower, and it goes to the cooling tower from, and that heat is dumped into the atmosphere as a rooftops basically. Then you will have this, I think you have seen the psychometric chart, very simple, designed by Carrier for that 1 bar pressure. You can see the psychometric chart. The x-axis is the dry bulb temperature, y-axis you can see the specific humidity. The slant line, it shows 10, 20, 30 and all, it gives the enthalpy of the air, and this curved red line, it gives that is saturated line. So one thing you can notice, at 0 degrees centigrade the water can maximum hold 5 grams of water, but when the temperature reaches 35 degrees it can hold almost 35 grams of water. So the water carrying capacity of the air increases as the temperature increases. So what are the main power consuming devices in central vapor compression refrigeration system? There is a compressor, that is chiller what you call, then cooling water pump, cooling tower fan and condenser pumps. I think we also study like the effect of variation in evaporator temperature on the compressor power consumption. Means compressor is a major unit which consumes power in HVAC system. So the evaporator temperature decides the power consumption basically. So if you have like you can say you take only two things, first column and third column. If you have got evaporator temperature as minus 20, then the specific power consumption is 1.67. But as you go on increasing the, we have considered the condenser temperature to be 40, ambient temperature is 40 degrees, that is considered. But as you go on increasing the evaporator pressure, then the specific power consumption is reduced. Means the efficiency is, the power consumed is less for doing the same work. Hence, it is better you increase the evaporator temperature. And now I think in this COVID era, now people are talking about somewhere 30 degrees centigrade of temperature which you are supposed to maintain in the AC. Somewhere 26 to 30 with lot of air circulation. Almost the air rotation is very high. Then what are the fuel energy conservation measures? One is in general it is fuel substitution. People earlier who were using electricity, like I have seen in Parle-G biscuit manufacturing, they were having electrical oven, long tunnel oven, electrical oven, but now they have substituted with natural gas, LNG. Then in sugar industries, I think you are all aware, they were only manufacturing sugar earlier, but now today they are having cogeneration. They produce electricity also, and even they come out with distilleries. Then you have to take care of the energy distribution losses, and you have to study the energy usage by the individual process. Then technical and economic feasibility, whatever suggestions you give, they should be economically viable and technically feasible. Then you should study the required space availability, because you may talk big things, but the space should be there. The technology should be available, manpower should be readily available. And important thing is safety. Please understand, we are talking about energy audits, but there is something called safety audits also. There is something called environmental audits also. So money is not the only thing in life. There are so many issues like safety and environment which also we need to take care of. Okay, and new technology like reliability, what is the service issues, maintenance issues, and spares availability. When you are suggesting some new measures, energy conservation measures, you have to consider all of them. One more important graph as an engineer you should understand. Now there is something called for speed control of this equipment, especially motors. There is something called VFD, variable frequency drives. I can just give one example. Suppose I am driving my car. My car is weighing 1000 kgs. I am weighing say 100 kgs. Then I am going alone. So this is loss, underutilization of the car. Second thing is if 5 people are sitting, so the payload of the car is 500 kgs. 5 people are sitting with the luggage. Then it makes sense. So underloading should be avoided. But what happens? You take the case of a lift. Similarly, in case of a electrical lift, in lift also they will have capacities of 500 kgs. And suppose only one person is traveling, so it is underutilization. That time what happens, this VFD comes into picture. This is a small device which is used, which has some technology like AC is converted to DC, and then the DC is converted into variable frequency AC, so that you are able to control the speed. Okay, because the synchronous speed is NS is equal to 120 F by P. So here what we are doing, 120 is constant, number of poles is constant, only change F I can change. So frequency we are trying to change. You can see the beautiful thing of this. Again at 100% full load, the efficiency is same. Okay, so this VFD is given in the blue color, ideal is green color, forget about ideal. Then you look at the real curve, that is red color, and the blue color is the VFD. Now you can see what happens. As the x-axis talks about the capacity, say from 10 to 100, and y takes a percentage of power consumed. Now you can see even at 10% efficiency, now in real life it is 50% power is being consumed. But if you install a VFD at 10% efficiency, the power consumed is only 25%. So lot of saving is there, especially in high motors. like you have motors 10 kilowatt and above, okay, 100 kilowatt. So huge motors are used in industries. For them, this VFDs. So this is one more important technology what normally mechanical engineers don't know. Electrical people, they study this, but mechanical people are not aware. And one more last point I wanted to discuss was there is a national certification examination for certified energy managers and certified energy auditors. So this is being conducted annually by Ambedkar Institute of Productivity, National Productivity Council. The guidebooks are available online. Free guidebooks are available, beautiful. This all slide what I have made, I had downloaded from guidebooks only. There are 4 examination papers and the fees is 10,000 rupees and minimum passing is 50% marks, and the final paper is open book exam. So for energy managers, the qualification is graduate engineer with 3 years of work experience, or a postgraduate engineer with 2 years of work experience. Or if you have got a postgraduate degree in management, then 2 years work experience, and diploma engineers with 6 years experience, and postgraduate MSc candidates with 5 years experience, they can also become energy managers. But for energy operators, you need to be a technical person, like graduate engineer, 2 years experience, postgraduate engineer, 2 years experience, or graduate engineer with degree in management, that is 2 years. So energy manager, diploma person, and even postgraduate MSc person can become, but for energy auditor, definitely you need to be engineer. So these are the 4 books, like general aspects on energy management and energy audits, then thermal utilities, energy efficiency, then electrical utilities, and the last one is performance assessment of equipment and utilities. So these are the aspects of book 1. Book 2, like book 2, you can see like fuels and combustion, boilers, steam systems, furnaces, installation, fluidized bed combustion boilers, FBC, then cogeneration, waste heat recovery, and heat exchange. So mechanical engineers, basically we all study this. So if you download this book and just go through these things, you will try to relate your academic knowledge with the real world knowledge. Then electrical efficiency utilities like motors, compressed air system, HVAC systems, fans and blowers, pumps, cooling towers, lighting systems, then generators, NG, natural gas. Then the energy conservation buildings, that is ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Code. Then performance assessment of the same devices. So this is a certificate what they give. This is like given by the Government of India, Bureau of Energy Efficiency for energy managers and auditors, and this is the identity card. So I am a certified energy auditor with that EA 8061. They have a training also, basically. So after 5 years you need to undergo training, and they will put a remark here. And then these recommendations, whatever you make based on financial this, it should have some return of investment, and it should have better internal rate of return, net present value, or discounted cash flow technique. These are various techniques to evaluate the financial proposals. And as I said, you should classify them in 3 costs: low cost, medium cost, and high cost. So these are the reference materials what I have taken, like Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power, Government of India, then Ambedkar Institute of Productivity, NPC, National Productivity Council, Petroleum Conservation Research Association, and various equipment manufacturer websites. So thank you. Have a good day.